This is a brief overview of the 650 tail and blow frost fan. You can see we've got the fan and engine up the top of the boom. This one's got the 200 litre ground fill fuel tank mounted as standard. We've already set the fan up and levelled it. So the first thing we do is extend the legs out, lock them into place with this pin here, and then you use the jacks on each one and the level in the centre of the chassis to get the fan nice and level on the legs. We then extend the boom. The boom it's got a transport stand there that the engine locks into for towing around. We then extend the boom, and you can see that it's locked into place on a support there. That's at its lowest height, and go up to a total of 8 metres tall. Open up the bonnet here. The first thing we do is turn the key on. Check that the emergency stop switch is extended. Got to confirm that the legs are extended and the fan's levelled. We've got the main screen here. At the top we've got some status indicators. The fan's currently in a manual mode, and you can see that the engine is currently stopped. The top right hand corner there is a countdown timer of 1 hour from the last time that the fan was used. When that gets down to 0, the screen goes into a standby mode to save power. Next thing we've got there is the RPM of the engine if it was running, the wind speed from the wind speed sensor on the boom, the current battery level, and the hour meter for the fan for the engine. On the left hand side we've then got 3 numbers. We've got our start temperature, so this is the temperature that the fan will start at when it's in auto mode. When the temperature gets below this number, the engine will start and the fan will run up to full speed and rotate depending on the settings that it's set on. Current temperature there, which is read from the temperature sensor, which just hangs to the left of the screen there. See that just at the bottom left there. And then we've got the stop temperature. This is the temperature, must always be higher than the start temperature. This is the temperature that the fan will stop at when it's in auto mode. Then we've got the rotate mode. It's currently in stationary. This either goes from stationary, rotate, or oscillate. And this determines what the fan will do when it is running in high speed. So the fan is able to be set to oscillate by a sensor down the bottom here. Just have a small limit switch, and we put little clamps on here that come with the fan onto that ring, and the fan will oscillate between the 2 clamps on the ring there. Then just got the fuel levels. 45% fuel level up the top at the moment. So this is the little header tank that's up the top of the boom. And then we have the fuel level in the lower tank, which is this one here, that we fuel the fan up with primarily. This works just with a fuel pump down the bottom, and there's actually a setting in the controller here which allows you to set the level that it keeps the top fuel at. So as default, it's between 30% and 70%. So if the top fuel level gets down to 30%, the fuel pump down the bottom here will turn on and pump fuel up to the top tank until the top tank's up to 70% full, and so on it goes. So to start the fan, we've checked that we've got the fan, the legs extended and the fan's level. To lift the boom up, we select this button on the left here, manual, slew and raise. We've then got to confirm that the legs are out and the fan's level. And then we have the following options. We've got lift, lower, and then we've got the slew control to the right or to the left, and then just the back button, which takes us back to the home page. So if we hit the up button, you'll hear the hydraulic motor come on, and that will raise the boom up. So we've raised the boom up until we can put the stand into position, and then once we have it to our set height that we want, we put the stand in position and then lower the boom down until it rests on the stand. We go back out of there. So when it's in manual mode, all we have to do to start the fan is just to press the start button on the right there. See that? If this fan's now ready to go into auto mode, so it will start automatically. So if we wanted to do that, we just simply press the auto manual button here. So just press that once, and you'll notice up the top here that the fan's now in auto mode. And now this fan will start whenever the temperature gets below 1.5 degrees and above, and then it will stop when it gets to above 4.5. This can be tested quite easily just with a cup of cold water, some ice in it or something, and you just put that, just dip that temperature sensor into that water, and that'll simulate the temperature coming down. What you'll notice when that happens is the fan will go from stopped into, it'll go through a number of modes. It'll glow initially, then it'll start, and then it will sit at idle, which is about 800 RPM for 5 minutes. It's also adjustable, the warm-up time, till the engine comes up to temperature. The fan will then move into high-speed operation. It'll speed up to between 2000 and 2700 RPM. That RPM is actually adjustable to allow for different wind speeds if required. This fan's currently set to run up to 2000 RPM because it was being used on a small area where we were concerned about noise level. So depending on the requirements, we can adjust the operating RPM of the engine, and the fan will continue to operate then at its set operating revs, until the temperature comes up to 4.5 degrees. Once it's stabilised at 4.5 degrees, the fan will go into a cool down mode, so it'll come back down to idle for approximately 5 minutes, and then the fan will shut down and it'll be ready to start again if the temperature does drop below 1.5 degrees again. With this particular model, it uses about 14 litres an hour of fuel. 65 horsepower engine using about 14 litres an hour at full power. That does change a little bit depending on the RPM that you've got this set at. That 14 litres is at 2700 RPM. So this one will actually do a little bit less than that, but that gets us about 14-15 hours out of the 200 litre tank of fuel. So typically, good two decent frosts you can get out of that. So we'll take it out back into manual mode, and it is going to warn you to say that you're about to exit the auto mode. So now the fan will not start if the temperature goes low. If you do have the fan fitted with a telemetry module, which this connects the fan to the internet, even if the fan is in manual mode, it will warn you, and the temperature drops below 1.5 degrees, or your set temperature on the controller here, it will actually send you you can set it up to send you a text message to say that, warning, the temperature has dropped below 1.5 degrees, but the fan's currently in manual mode. Do you want to start the fan? And with that system, you can actually start the fan remotely if it's been set up and safe to do so. Something else just to be aware of is there is a safety switch on the boom here. So it's detecting where this is, which is the stand. So that's telling the fan that the boom is actually extended and it's safe to operate. The fan should not be started while the fan's lowered into the transport position. What you will notice if this is not extended, if the boom's not in the correct position, and that switch is not depressed by the stand, the fan will crank, but it will not start because that switch interrupts the fuel pump power. So the fan will attempt to crank, but it won't start because it doesn't have fuel. So if you do notice that you're trying to start the fan and it's just cranking and not firing, just check that switch is properly engaged. So start the fan. It will start the fan up in manual. Just press the start button. You'll hear the glow relay come in. The fan will start. The fan idles at about 800 RPM. So the fan will just slowly turn while it's on idle. There is a brake on the fan that's activated by oil pressure, so it won't freewheel in the wind, but when the machine's idling, that lets go, it allows it to spin slowly. If this is in manual mode, it would then idle for approximately 5 minutes to come up to temperature. We've already had this one just running, so we can run this one up. You can run it up manually by pressing the high RPM switch here. And after full RPM, that is on the units, 2,000 RPM, so it's going to set up. And then get it back to idle just by pressing that same button again. Come back to that idle RPM. And then to shut the fan down, we just press the stop button. The emergency stop switch will kill the engine and turn off all power to the unit if required. You can sometimes do this while it's in storage, but we do recommend, particularly if you've got the telemetry module fitted, that you leave the emergency stop switch in the on position and just switch the key off. That's a good idea if it's going to be stored over summer to put a charger on the battery just to keep it from deteriorating over storage during storage. When the fan's running and set up for auto mode, we typically have the bonnet closed like so. We've just got these two thumb screws here that tighten it. There's one on the other side, and then we've got the access panel which you can get to the screen from to check it if need be.